Hey guys, Grindhead Jim here. On YouTube and in other places of social media, lists are a thing. Making lists, ranking things from top to bottom, looking at games overall and saying, these 10 are amazing always. 10 games are the best bang for your buck. 10 games I have always loved. They're a thing, but I don't do them. Today you're going to find out why. Gaming is always changing as an industry, as a hobby, as a pastime. The way that it is done changes on a very consistent basis. I mean, yeah, for most console gamers, even some PC gamers, it's about that controller in your hands, the TV or monitor in front of you, and if you're on PC using mouse and keyboard, the control scheme's the same, how your interface for the most part stays the same, but there's always new types of experiences, bigger worlds to explore, different stories, different ways of telling those stories. Now you've got VR as a very firmly established part of the gaming culture, which is a whole new way to interface and tell stories on its own. That entire fork of gaming is going to evolve much in the way we've seen console and PC gaming evolve over time. So there's no way to just narrow down, well, this is how it is and this is what's always going to be the best, because the landscape itself is in a constant state of flux. Even if the gaming culture and the ways to experience games never changed, I have changed. I'm in my 40s, as I'm sure I have mentioned dozens of times before. But with all that time under my belt, which still fits, if you're wondering, my perspectives on life and entertainment change all the time. Something that appeals to me 5 years ago may not be as much fun to me now. So what I want out of a game for pastime, or for stress release, or for a laugh, that criteria is always going to change depending upon where I am in my life. So how can I make a statement that is never going to change? It's not possible. If gaming culture never changed, and if I never changed, here's a spoiler for you, everything else changes. People's opinions change. The views of the gaming industry change. So even if the same types of games were coming out and the way to experience them was always the same, people grow, generations change, groupthink becomes a thing, and different things become more or less popular, which can influence people like myself. There's always that possibility that what I think is going to be influenced by something outside of myself, and because that's always changing, again, keeps me from making statements that I can stand behind as accurate for ranking something, in the world we live in. Because I've been gaming so long, there are so many games that I've played, I have forgotten at least half of them, if not more. I can't remember every single game experience I've ever had. I can't even remember all the games I originally had in my collection when I was younger. There's stuff I have just flat out forgotten ever existed. I might see a label or an instruction manual or gameplay, and I'm like, that looks familiar, but I can't really comment on it because I don't remember well enough how I felt about that game. And then there's the myriad thousands of games I've never played. Stuff I might never play in the first place. Of the stuff I own physically or digitally, there's at least a 500 to 1,000 game backlog sitting on my hard drives somewhere. And that doesn't even cover the games that I have available to me through emulation. That's another 10 to 20,000 games right there. I don't have time for that. And of course, there are games that you have played, you've played them, you go back to try them again, and the experience is different. So then what I thought the game was, or what I remember the game being, is totally different now, so my view has changed, and it may not even qualify for something that I'm trying to determine criteria for. And even if that's not a bad thing, the fact of the matter is that there are some games I will come back to and get something different out of them every time. And if I say today, this game is great for this, a year from now I play that same game, I might tell you something different. What am I going to do then? Put out another list saying, well, this is different now. No, I don't think so. Doesn't make sense to me. Besides, how are you supposed to objectively rank things numerically in a list anyhow? Unless you get super specific of top 10 games that made me feel like I was going to poop my pants. Chances are you're not going to have an objective, reproducible way of rating something in a way that is anything more than just throwing out an opinion. When someone says top 10 list, I'm thinking of this is a ranking. This means I'm going to go from this to this, and it's going to get progressively better or worse depending upon how the list is structured. And that brings us to the fact that lists in general are subjective. They're based upon the opinion of the person who's made them and their opinion at that time. If I put out a list that says definitively 10 things, there's a good possibility my feelings might change over time. And that's not serving anybody. Besides, even if I was able to make it completely accurate in a way that would never, ever change, so like my opinion is solid on this, that's never gonna go back. I'm not gonna change my mind. None of that. Here's the thing. There are gonna be millions of people in the world that don't have the exact same opinion as I do, and seeing that I've definitively said this about this 10 games, they're going to argue. They're gonna say, well, I don't feel that way. I don't think that that's accurate. Which is fine. Opinions aren't fact. But when you put them in a list and rank them, some people take it too seriously. And of all the things that we could argue about on the internet, my opinion and whether or not my opinion is valid is not something I want to discuss. My opinion is just as valid as yours is, and no one is right or wrong about how they feel. Because of all the volatile nature and subjective nature of lists in the first place, they're repetitive. You could put out a new list every single day because every single day there's something changed in your life or a new game has come out. I mean, it's never gonna, you can't keep up. And even knowing that, everyone does them. There are lists on almost every channel. Now, I understand that YouTube's algorithms, you have to put in certain things that are going to draw in people and this and that. It's a mess. And it's a mess I don't care about. I just want to make good content that appeals to the people that like what I already do. I'm not here to manipulate a system so that more people that may or may not align with my views see my content once and then never come back. I want to make content that people are going to engage with and enjoy consistently. And a top 10 list isn't a good snapshot of anybody's opinion, no matter what you tell me. For as long as I can remember in my entire life, there has always been new video games of some kind coming out somewhere. Every week, almost every day of every month of every year, there's new games coming out. You know, if you think about video games like the world population, it's never going to go down. The games you have access to play every single day goes up. I wish someone could publish the rate of growth for the amount of games in the world, or could find out how many video games there actually are in the world. There's no way to play every single game in the world. No one literally has time to do that. And if you can't experience everything and, you know, gather your opinion is never going to be complete. So there's no point saying, well, this is how I feel about this today. I'm just not a fan. If you like watching videos with lists in them, I understand why. I watch them myself. They're an interesting insight into how some people feel about certain types of games. But I just can't put my feet in those shoes and walk that path. It's not something that I gravitate to. It's not something I want to hang my hat on. Besides, when's the last time you saw me take a hat off anyway? It's just not what I see my content becoming. Just in the time it's taken me to conceptualize and shoot this video, my opinion has changed a little bit. Lists aren't a bad thing as long as you're not trying to take your subjective opinion and present it as fact. You know, working in absolutes just probably isn't a smart idea to begin with. It's a recipe for disaster. So I want to try and avoid that. But I am really curious about how I could take the top 10 list or list of things format and do something a little bit different. So this video is my first attempt at doing that. Let me know if you like it. I'm going to try and think of some other ways to innovate on the idea and just have some fun. If by some miracle of Godzilla this is your first time here, welcome to the channel. I hope you click the subscribe button below and click that notification bell so you know the next time I'm going to talk about something that might trigger you. Or sometime we're just having fun talking about gaming, collecting, gaming news, or maybe a pickups video? I don't know. But in the meantime, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you on the next one. May all your grinds be merry. Cheers.